Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week number 9 of the BattleBots Prediction League game thing, call it what you will. We are creeping ever closer towards the big, massive round of 32 bracket at the end of the season. But we still have the fight cards to go for now, and some more predicting to do. But before we do any predicting for this week, let's look at the results from last week. So they're on your screen right now, and I had a better week this week, but you guys are just keeping up there, you know. We were both level, both got 5 each. It was a good week for me, really. The only things we got wrong were, we got Malice Blacksmith wrong, both of us. We got Glitch Hydra, what a shock that was. I got Tombstone wrong, you guys got the endgame Sword Blaze fight wrong. It means that we're as we were actually, I think, in the gaps. Yeah, it's 9 points. No, it's 11. No, it's 9 points. No, it's 11. Sorry, it is 11. It's 11 points each. So 11-point gap. God, I'm all over the place this morning. What a great start to the BattleBots prediction game this week. I'm all over the place. But yeah, it's an 11-point gap. And I need to build on it some more, really. I need to get back in the game. Let's look at what the fight card is this week. So I have seen what the main event is. I can't remember what it is. So this might be the first time that you get my honest reaction to a main event. So here we go. Obviously the screen is here as it is per usual. And we're going to get my reaction to the fight card. Here it is. I like that. I like that a lot. Scorpio's Yeti is an interesting main event. Minotaur versus Deep Six. I was saying interesting because I saw the Grunt versus Cobalt fight to start with. That's an interesting fight card. I'm not quite sure. I think these fights might be good fights, but on paper they don't look particularly good. No, I'm happy with them. Defender Retrograde, battle of the control bots as well in the YouTube exclusive. That should be a good one. Although knowing the YouTube exclusive, someone will probably conk out in about a minute. No, that's good. That is a good fight card. I'll be right back. I'm going to go and do some research about who's fought who, and then I'm going to give you my predictions. Right, research done. I'm ready. Not research, jogging my memory. That's what I was doing. I wasn't really doing research, I was jogging my memory. So let's go into the first fight of the night, and it's Grunt versus Cobalt. Both machines at 1-1. Grunt beat Switchback, the newcomers, in their first fight. They then lost to Hydra, got flipped out of the arena. As for Cobalt, they lost their first match to Fusion, and then they beat Ghost Raptor. And I'm going to pretend like I haven't just done this spiel to a camera that was off, but I love Cobalt. I think they're a great machine. I'm obviously going to support them. I've mentioned before in earlier videos, I am from Britain. I'm English, I'm from Britain. So I'm going to support the British robots as much as possible. And of course, Cobalt, built by Sam Smith and Dave Moulds. Carbide, Robot Wars champion. Tungsten, this is Fighting Robots champion. And I would love Cobalt to get, even with a different team, even with Matt Maxim, I'd love Matt Maxim to get a BattleBots giant nut. And I've gone for them every time I've seen them, and my plan was to go for them every time this season when they came up, just out of pure support for them. Because that is the robot. If I had to pick one robot to support, it probably would be Cobalt. But I just don't think they're going to win this one. I said, I've just recorded this and did it to an empty camera, so I'm going to rush through it a bit more. But basically what I said is, I don't think Cobalt can get underneath Grunt. If they can get underneath Grunt, it's all over. Cobalt is going to mince Grunt. But I don't think they can get underneath them. They've struggled to get underneath other robots this season, and in the past with that design. They didn't get under Fusion very well, they got minced. They got underneath Ghost Raptor, but obviously Ghost Raptor's ground clearance is a chasm. And I don't know, I just think Gruff can maybe put a wedge on that's a bit lower, or put some forks on or something, and they can get underneath. I think they could be able to get underneath Cobalt and take them wherever they want, make them ricochet around. And I just don't think Cobalt would put up with the hits and the contact that would be made from that. So yeah, as much as I love Cobalt, I'm gonna go for Gruff for this one. And you know, I might regret it 2 seconds into this match. I might, you know, Cobalt might get underneath and obliterate Gruff, and then that's me losing one. But just, there's something in my head saying that I don't think Cobalt's going to win this, and I think Gruff are going to go 2-1. And I think Cobalt, you never know, they will be looking at other robots hoping that they make the bracket. Don't know if they will. It's going to be Gruff for me. The next fight is Duck versus Riptide. And I don't really know what to think about this fight, really. Looking at the past fights, Duck have had a very poor season. They lost to Witch Doctor on a judge's decision before losing to Dragon Slayer in much the same way on a judge's decision. And they've been painful fights to watch, really, if you're a Duck fan and if you're a fan of Hal Rucker and just what he represents in BattleBots. It's been an incredibly painful 2 fights. As for Riptide, they came out of the blocks in their debut season with a massive bang. They hit huge into the screws and defeated them by a KO in blink and you miss it fashion, and they lost on a just decision to Defender, which is nothing to be ashamed of, really. We know that Duck is retiring at the end of this season. Haruka's bringing something else, something new. Maybe it'll be a spinner. I would hope not. I want him to bring a control bot. I said a few weeks ago, I think this is the worst iteration of Duck, and I do stand by it. I just don't think the lifter and the flat edges are particularly helpful in a fight. But it's been against very similar robots. It's been put up against 3 vertical spinners. Maybe it just isn't built to combat them. Do I think they'll get a win over Riptide? I don't know. Riptide's an interesting robot. They've been a bit 50-50. I haven't really got a handle on them. They've had 2 battles in their existence. One was a judge's decision against a robot that I thought was perfectly suited to it, and it was. And the other was a shock, quick KO against a favourite, against a fan favourite, against a veteran. But I don't think that's any indication of their quality. I think it was more of a lucky hit than anything. I'm gonna go for Duck, I think. I could be wrong with this, but I'm gonna bag Duck for this one. I don't quite know why. I have no idea how these 2 robots are gonna come together in my head, but I'm gonna go for Duck. The next fight is Valkyrie against Pardon My French. Pardon My French has only fought 1 fight so far. It was a defeat to Claw Viper, while as Valkyrie, they need a win, really, to get into the round of 16. They're 1-1. They lost to P1 on a judge's decision. It was a very close match. They caused a lot of damage. So we'll call that a very close loss. You know, very, very close defeat. And then they beat Triple Crown, absolutely obliterated them. We wouldn't have expected anything else looking at Triple Crown. Beautiful machine. Very technical, bringing something new to the sport. Something we'd never seen before. It did get minced. They could have put Triple Crown against someone a bit easier who wasn't going to mince them, so we could see them drive around a little bit. But, you know, they got fed to Valkyrie, so they could have a win. So it's a close loss, a dominant win, and now they're fighting Pardon My French. Not exactly the strongest run, Fight Night run in the history of Fight Night runs. It's not exactly Endgames or Saw Blazers from the other week. You know, their 3 fights have been against all-star opposition. Do I think Valkyrie are going to win this? Yes. Yes, I do. I think Pardon My French were very disappointing against Claw Viper. I don't think they'll be much better here against Valkyrie, and I think this is one of those cases of feeding a weak robot to a stronger robot just to guarantee that they're into the round of 32, not round of 16. That was a couple of years ago. Round of 32. Yeah, I think Valkyrie are going to get the win, and they're going to mince Pardon My French. That'll give them 2 dominant wins and a close judge's decision loss, and a place in the round of 32 in the bracket. If I had to guess on a seeding, maybe early 20s, early to mid 20s. That would be my guess after this. But Valkyrie for me in this fight. It's mid-card madness, and it's a very good fight. It's Lockjaw, the Legends, against BLIT, also sort of experienced competitors, but a brand new robot that's very exciting. Not quite got the same ring to it as newcomers against the veterans, because Blip is a newcomer robot, but of course it's by the Tantrum team, so not quite as new as you would think. Who do I think is going to win this? Well, let's look at the fight recaps. Lockjaw are 0-2. They lost on a judge's decision to Copperhead in a main event many weeks ago. They then lost via KO to Hypershock in I think it was... They got out of the arena, didn't they? I remember Will Bales being like, "Oh my god, please don't forfeit me," because obviously Uta's frowned upon now in BattleBots this season. As for Blip, robot that you would think might have some Utas, they haven't, but they have 2 KOs. They fought Rusty. Rusty's Rusty. We all love him. It was old Rusty, not the new Rusty, so he was a bit decrepit, and Blip got an easy first win. I think it was more of a showcase of what their flipper can do. And then they fought Overhaul, who's a bit better. Got a KO. So it's they're 2-0. So Blip with a win would go 3-0. Lockjaw need a win to just try and get into the tournament. They might get in just through being a big name if they get a win. They're not getting in if they go 0-3. Blip will be looking to go 3-0 and really stamp that position in the top 10 or so robots in the bracket. Do I think they can do it? No, I think Lockjaw is just a step too far for Blip right now. Or do I? Or do I think they'll get underneath? They could send Lockjaw flying. No, I'm going to go with Lockjaw. I think a lot of people will go Blip. I'm going to go Lockjaw. I am just as much on the hype train as Blip as everyone else. I love a flipper, and I love when a flipper's doing well in BattleBots, because just the design of the arena makes flippers very difficult to be successful. So of course I'm on Blip's side. I'm on the Blip hype train. I just think Lockjaw is a step too far right now. I think Donald Hudson's a better driver. I think he can get around. I think Blip could get underneath Lockjaw though. Oh my god, this is so tricky. This is so tricky. Lockjaw has more damage potential. But if Blip can get underneath Lockjaw and just toss him around, they won't get anything. But if Lockjaw lands on Blip while they're being flipped and causes a bit of damage. Lockjaw. We're going to go Lockjaw. I'm going to stick with it. I've had this before when I wasn't sure, and in the last minute I didn't change my mind and I got it wrong. I'm going to stick with my guns once again, even if I'm wrong. Lockjaw for me, more experienced with this machine. I think they can cause damage. I think they will cause damage. We've not seen Blip take any major damage yet, and we're going to see how they deal with it. Either they shrug it off and they keep fighting and they win the fight and I'm wrong and I'll keep getting on that Blip hype train, or they're going to get smashed and they're going to drop down to 2-1, and Lockjaw will be on 1 and 2. Blip will get into the bracket, maybe mid-teens, based off the dominance of their first 2 wins, mid to late teens, maybe early 20s. As for Lockjaw, it will be a real fight to get into that bracket. The back end of this bracket, everybody, could be absolutely stacked, to be perfectly honest. But for me, Lockjaw in this fight, we'll talk about the bracket another time, Lockjaw in this fight, pardon me, Lockjaw in this fight for me. Minotaur versus Deep Six. What a fight this is. Do I have to talk about it much? Or do I just say Minotaur wins? Because Minotaur's winning. Minotaur is winning this. Deep Six has beat a robot like Minotaur in Pain Train. Then they lost to Smee in embarrassing fashion. Got stuck in the floor. As for Minotaur, lost on judge's decision to Saw Blaze. It was brutal, really brutal. And then they beat Dragon Slayer via KO. So Minotaur have got something to prove. Deep Six have got something to prove, really. But I can see there's an argument for what happened to Pain Train would happen to Minotaur, because they're sort of similar, but we all know deep down Minotaur is a different level to Pain Train. They're more manoeuvrable than Deep Six. They're faster, they hit harder, I think, than Deep Six. So I'm going to go for Minotaur. very quick for me. Minotaur is going to win this. It's going to be an amazing fight though. It's going to be a big bang, I think. Minotaur for me. SubZero versus Hijinx is the next fight in what is going to be, I think, an interesting fight. These machines have had poor seasons. SubZero, I feel so sorry for them because they sort of just blend into the background of BattleBots, and it wouldn't be the same if they weren't there. I would be going, oh, where's SubZero? But also at the same time, they don't win a lot. You know, they get some wins, but they're very mid to lower card robot. This season they've not had a great season, and they'll know that. A judge's decision loss to Shatter, a KO win versus Bloodsport. Sorry, not a win, a KO defeat to Bloodsport. They didn't beat Bloodsport, we'd have a completely different conversation if that happened. Mind Slip, busy day. Judge's decision loss to Shatter, KO loss to Bloodsport. Means that they are 0-2. As for Hijinx, they had a KO loss to Mammoth and a judge's decision win versus Kraken, which I think was a little bit controversial. I think Kraken had a case for a win there. But I understand why Hijinx won. The judges I think the judges scored it correctly based off of their rubric, off of the judges' rubric. But do I think that's the best way to score robot fights? No, maybe not. But also I think I'm coloured by my love of UK robot combat, my love of Robot Wars. I think BattleBots sometimes is a little bit too skewed, and I think the judging criteria helps it, but also I understand why they do it. I think Hijinx probably did win based on the BattleBots mark scheme. I think Kraken maybe should have won that fight, and they would have in many other robot fighting competitions. Anyway, who do I think is going to win this fight? That aside, I think SubZero is going to win this. I think they're going to flip Hijinx over, and I think really it's going to be a party pooping, because if Hijinx get a win, they might get into the tournament, might squeeze in, but I think a win for SubZero is nothing but pride for them, and enough to knock Hijinx out of it, because I don't think Hijinx have been impressive enough to get that place in the round of 32. So I think it's going to be SubZero, and it's going to knock them both out. And why do I think that? Because I think SubZero can get underneath Hijinx. I don't think the spinner will cause much trouble to SubZero, if I'm being honest, and I think they'll flip Hijinx around until they're stuck in a position that they can't get out of, whether that be in against a screw, whether that be over the side wall, or whether that be on the upper deck. Any of those options, I think SubZero will get a win, and I'll be very, very, very happy for them. It's the YouTube exclusive, and this could be a good one actually. Last week's wasn't bad, but this one could be good. It's Defender against Retrograde. Both these machines very similar in design. Both have got control bot elements built into them. Defender lost via KO to Ribbit. Then did Defender beat via judge's decision? Because I've written in my notes Defender beat Defender, which is not what happened. Defender did not beat Defender. Quick check. Defender beat Defender is incredibly funny. Riptide. Don't know why I didn't write. I wrote Defender. That's very silly of me. Yeah. So they beat Riptide via judge's decision. Of course I know that. I said it further up the card. I'm having one of those days. As for Retrograde, they beat Rampage in what was a comically funny knockout. They just flipped them over. It was very Robot Wars Series 3 of them. And then they lost to Huge via KO. So a KO win and a KO loss. Both these robots will have ambitions of getting into the round of 32. Who do I think is going to win? I think it's going to be Defender. Do you want a reason? Defender's the better control bot. It's a battle of the control bots. Apparently, Retrograde's got a spinner on it somewhere as well. I have no idea where. I think it might be an undercutter, maybe. I don't know. They mentioned a spinner the other week. Never seen it. I don't think it will cause damage. It's not caused any damage yet. It's not going to cause any damage now. I think Defender will be better driven, more experienced team. They'll be able to flip over Retrograde, get them pinned, control them, put them into the hazard. It's going to be a great control fight, I think. I'd be very surprised if it didn't last the full 3 minutes. It might be a bit boring, which is why it's on the YouTube exclusive. But it might last the full 3 minutes and be a really good example of sort of a control bot match. Or someone could just break down. And if someone's going to break down, it's going to be Retrograde, in my opinion. I think Defender's going to be very well engineered, but considering it's an offshoot of the Whiplash team. So yeah, I think Defender would be my bet on this. Yeah, just because they're a better control bot. Defender. It's time for the main event. Q-Saws, fog coming down, sparks flying, flames shooting out. I do enjoy that. I like it at the start of the thing. I don't know if we need it also at the end of the card. Very hype. It's cool though. It is cool. It's Scorpios versus Yeti, guys. In the main event, Scorpios so far looking to go 2-1. They're 1-1 right now. Got a judge's decision win against Blade. Then a judge's decision loss to Whiplash. So they're in a very good position actually going into this. If they can get a KO win, or a judge's decision, if they get a win, they're in really. Because a judge's decision loss, especially against someone like Whiplash, will will look pretty good to the selection committee compared to some of the other fights that people have had. As for Yeti, I think they've had a very middling season on their return. KO versus Mad Catter, they were obliterated. And then they beat Pain Train. They did obliterate Pain Train, but it's Pain Train. I mean, they've been stuck back together with sticky tape after that Deep 6 fight, really. They lost the drum, didn't they, in that fight? The drum came off in the Battle of the Drums. Who do I think is going to win this one? I think I'm going to go for Scorpios, really. I think they can get underneath Yeti. I don't know if this Yeti spinner is as good as the old one. I really don't know. I'm 50-50 on it, in my opinion. I think it might go to the judges, but I can see Scorpios causing major damage to the top of Yeti. It's a very flat, boxy shape. They can get around the side, which I'm sure they can. They'll do well. And we know Scorpios can withstand attacks. They've withstood Tombstone in the past, they've withstood Blade now. Spinners don't fear them at all. And I just don't think Yeti's drum will fear them either. I think they'll get round and they'll sort of control it with their wedge, bring the hammer saw down, and cause damage. And if they don't KO Yeti, which the old Yeti I'd have said, yeah, they'll keep on trucking, but I just don't know the reliability of this new Yeti. So if they don't KO them, I think Scorpios can get enough points to win the judge's decision. So it's Scorpios for me getting the win. That'll take them on to 2-1 with a narrow 1 loss. I think they'll get mid-teens for the bracket. 15, 16, maybe even 11, 12, early teens maybe. Scorpios looking good this season, looking good. So that is who I think is going to win this week in week 9 of BattleBots. I think I have to concede now that I've pretty much lost this to you guys. Every week I have a good week. You guys are just consistently good. There's only really 1 week where you dropped a lot of points, I think. So I think I just have to deal with that. But thank you so much for watching. If you watch these every week, thank you so much for coming and supporting me. It's been a real blast making these. We're in the run now. I say it every week. We're in the run down now. We're getting close to that bracket. But we'll keep doing these. I'll keep trying to catch you up. And if you like this content, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll hopefully do more of these. Maybe I'll try and do other things, try and do new content, get it out there. But it's been a lot of fun doing this. I might need a rest after this for a few weeks. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this week. Will you do better than me? Probably. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.